Welcome to Kicks and Minivans, the podcast for dads who love sneakers. I'm your host, KG. However you're watching and listening, man, we are glad that you are here. Thank you for tuning in, hopping in, hanging out with us for a little bit. I want to apologize for the absence of last cycle's episode. But I want to keep it real. I want to keep it 100 on where I'm at. Not to excuse it, but to explain it. I think there's a difference. I used to be a person that made excuses for everything under the sun, right? And now it's, I just kind of own it. Like, that was on me that an episode didn't drop. And I heard some feedback from y'all, which was nice for me to hear. Some of y'all reach out and say that you missed it. Cause sometimes I wonder that, like, just to keep it real, I wonder that sometimes. But coming out of the stretch of episodes that we just went through, talking about the porn addiction, talking about the mental health, that was rough on my mental health. Like, that was a brutal 4-episode stretch to go through. When you are hosting a podcast, when you're doing like everything by yourself, like, this is a small time podcast, right? So when you're hosting it, you're prepping the material, you're running the interview or teaching the material, you're going back, you're editing it. Like, by the time we get through, I've run through each episode at least like 4, 5, 6, 7 times, right? And so doing that, all those episodes straight, even though we had some guests come on, some amazing guests come on, and I'm not the one sitting there teaching all of it necessarily, but I'm running through and listening to this material and rehearsing this material and preparing for this material, and it just started weighing on me. Like, it's a heavy thing to be talking about constantly. But I pray that it was beneficial to you. I pray that it was helpful. But just coming out of that stretch of episodes, I was focused so much on those episodes that I got to the other side of it, and I was like, well, what are we doing now? Like, what's next? I kind of didn't get this far. Like, I put so much emphasis into those stretch of 4 episodes that I got on the other side of it, and I was like, oh, I didn't prep anything for this. And then with the Valentine's episode, if you made it through that Valentine's episode, props to you. Like, you are a victor, because the audio was so trash on that. I felt so bad about it, but we really enjoyed hosting it, recording it together. But it's like one of those that you can't just go back and redo. And I discovered the audio. I edited it way too late and discovered the audio was terrible on it way too late. So, like, there were several things that just kind of got me really discouraged about the state of this podcast, not having a vision for where to go after that episode stretch, not having anything prepared, having the horrible trash audio on that one episode, started beating me up and making me wonder, like, if this podcast is something that's worth continuing. Like, just to keep it real. And I was hanging with my dude Ann, and I was like, yo, like, I'm really thinking about giving it up. Like, I'm thinking about calling it, like, hey, we've had a good 30-ish episode run. Like, there's some helpful material that'll live forever on the internet, but, like, I really thought about just calling it a day on this thing. But through a series of messages that I heard and some other podcasts I listened to, was encouraged to keep going. Kind of feel like I have a refreshed, renewed vision for it now. Very excited about it. And so, yeah, I just wanted to keep it real, keep it honest with you on where I was at with this coming out of this stretch. And appreciate you hanging with us, riding with us. And this podcast exists to help men win in marriage and parenting. And as I was reflecting on it and like where we go from here, I found it kind of ironic a little bit that even though this podcast centers around helping men be better fathers and husbands, we don't talk a whole lot about marriage and parenting and like the nitty gritty of marriage and parenting. Like, we put so much emphasis on you as a man and helping you get to your healthiest place, because I believe that the healthier you are, the better husband you will be. The healthier you are, the better father you will be. And so we put a lot of emphasis on helping men get to their healthiest place, because I think if you're a porn addict and you cut porn out of your life completely, you'll be a better husband and a better father. If you suffer in your mental health, if you can improve your mental health, you will be a better husband and a better father. If you understand your limitations as a man, like we talked about with Mark, if you understand your limitations as a man, you will be a better husband, better father. All these things, if you are a more patient person, you will be a better husband, better father. And so, a lot of ways, the approach of this podcast is like, okay, how can we help you get to your healthiest place so that you can be the best you can be for your father, for your family? How can you be the best father you can be? How can you be the best husband you can be? Be the husband that your wife deserves. Be the father that your kids deserve. And I believe if you get healthier, your whole family benefits from that, and your whole family gets healthier along the way too. And I think it's incredible too. And why I love this approach is that we have single dudes that they're not married, they have no kids, that listen to this podcast. I know of a handful of them at least, that listen to this podcast in preparation for that. And what I think is so dope about it is that, like, you don't have to, it's like we're not talking about all the like nitty gritty marriage things all the time. And so like it's almost like listening to this in preparation for being a husband and a father. It's almost like studying for the exam or getting the shots up on the court when no one else is looking, right? Like when you're in the game, when you're married, when you have kids, like when you're in the game, like you're just making in-game adjustments all the time on the fly. Like, and it's insane. Like if you have kids, like my kids just turned 4 and 2, like we are just living on the fly adjustments all day long, every single day, right? Like that's just what it is, raising toddlers, right? But if you can go into, and one of the things that is revealing about that is being married and having kids, toddlers, and I'm sure teens, I will learn soon enough, it can show you the worst parts of yourself. Like it can reveal the parts of you that you just hide and that you don't like, but you just never bring up. Like it will force those parts out of you and force you to deal with those things. And so listening to this podcast in preparation for marriage, in preparation for fatherhood, it's like getting some extra reps in before the game. It's getting that extra warm-up shots up. It's putting up those 500 shots at 5 a.m. when no one else is watching you, right? That Kobe Bryant work ethic, right? Like it's getting those reps in while no one else is watching you, preparing yourself to be the best husband you can be, to be the best father that you could be. And so even though we don't talk about the specifics of marriage a whole lot, the specifics of parenting a whole lot, and we do touch on those things from time to time, like, but we put so much more emphasis on helping you get to your healthiest spot that I think it's a beautiful thing when dudes listen to this and they're not married, they don't have kids, because they could be in a season of preparation for those. And what a great thing it is to prepare for that. And I remember like there was times where I was preparing for that season, right? And this was something I was thinking about the other day. The biggest flex that I have in this life, people talk about their flexes all the time. Like my biggest flex is this, my biggest flex is my Lambo. Like I don't have a Lambo, I drive a minivan, right? But the biggest flex I have in my life, honest to God, honestly, is that God has answered my prayers. Like, because everything I have, I prayed for. The single biggest flex I have in my life is that I prayed for almost everything that I have right now. And God came through. Right? Like, I met Becky when I was 21 years old. And I started praying for my wife. I was trying to remember exactly when it was that I started praying for my future wife. I met her at 21. We got married at 24. I was 24. I started praying for my future wife at like 15, 16 years old. I ain't know her. I ain't know who she was going to be. I just started praying for my future wife. I started praying for my future kids sometime after that. And like I tell people that like Becky is literally an answer to my prayers because I prayed specific prayers for my future wife when I was a teen. When I was in college, when I was 19, 20, 21 years old. And Becky is literally an answer to my prayers, right? So the way we actually met, and some people have heard this story, not everyone know, but the way we actually met is I had seen her my sophomore year or my junior year of college. I had seen her at my college. We met at Indiana Wesleyan University, and I had seen her at an event like across the room. And And she was a friend. We had like 3 degrees of mutual friends, right? So it was like my dude knew her sister's boyfriend or something like that. Like, so it's like we had this like distant connection. So like I saw her and I saw her with someone I knew, and so I started just asking around. To come to find out, right, I'm a junior in college. Like, she was in high school still. And so I was like, pause, skip that. Nope, not doing that, not going there, right? And so I just kind of like let it go. The next year, she started attending IWU. She was a freshman, I was a senior, and I noticed her around, right? But like, you don't go for the new freshman, right? Like, that's like a law on like on college campuses. Like, if you're an upperclassman, like, you don't go for the brand new freshman, right? Some of y'all might be like, yo, you don't go for freshman period if you're like a junior or senior. But like, yo, by the time it's like second semester, like they cool with it. They're, depending on the situation, right? But I had seen her around a lot, and every time I saw her, I was like, yo, she cute, she looked good. Like, every single time I saw her, she caught my eye, and I like checked her out every single time. And like, you know how we do as dudes. Like, I thought I was sly. I thought she didn't know. She noticed every time, bro. Like, I ain't that slick with it. And so, I started noticing her around all the time, and never asked her out or nothing though. And one day I'm sitting there, and it's April or late March, early April, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm doing my devos one night, and I'm laying in the bunk. We got the college dorm bunk beds. I'm laying on my top bunk there, and I'm reading my Bible and I'm praying. And as I start praying, like, she kept on coming into my mind. And I was like, yo, I ain't trying to do this right now. Like, I'm talking to Jesus. I ain't trying to sit there thinking about a girl. Like, I'm talking to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I am not sitting here thinking about a girl right now. Like, I ain't thinking about girls. I'm talking to Jesus. I'm talking to God, right? I'm praying right now. And I kept trying to get her out of my mind, but yo, I could not get her out of my mind. Every time I started and so like, usually I pray in my head. I started like verbalizing out loud praying. I was in my room alone. I started verbalizing out loud praying because I was like, yo, if I'm verbal about it, then maybe that'll get, the thoughts of girls out of my head. But the thing is, it wasn't thoughts of girls. It was the thought of one girl. And so I started thinking, I was like, yo, what if she's in my head for a reason? Like, what if she's in my head right now? And what if like the Holy Spirit won't let me? And I was like, this is a wild thought that the Holy Spirit won't let me stop thinking about this girl, right? But like, so I had my Gideon moment, right? I was graduating in like 3 weeks. I did not have a job lined up. I had no idea where I was going to go post graduation. I had no idea. I was like, yo, I can move halfway across the country. And I did. But I was like, I have no idea where I am going post graduation. But it feels like the Holy Spirit will not let me get this girl out of my head. And so I had my Gideon moment, right? I prayed to God. I said, all right, God, I'm thinking about this girl. I know she fine. I know she cute. I don't really know anything else about her. I said, I will ask her out if you want me to, but if you want me to ask her out, because this is wild trying to start a relationship with someone when I graduate in 3 weeks. But I said, if you want me to ask her out, have her this weekend. It was a Thursday night. Have her this weekend come up and say hi to me. That was my Gideon moment. I laid the fleece out in the grass. I said, God, if you want me to ask her out, have her come and say hi to me. The very next day, she came up and said hi to me. I kid you not. The very next day, she saw me. We were at this event. She saw me. She came up. She said, hey, you're KG, right? You're Pete's friend. Bro. And I didn't ask her out right then, but I was like, yo, next time I see her, I'm asking her out. And so 2 nights later, she came up to me on a Friday. I prayed that prayer on a Thursday. She came up to me on a Friday. On Sunday, I was getting food with my roommate. We were in the student center getting food. And my roommate was in a relationship, but he always loved pointing out girls that were like my type. He'd be like, yo, that girl's your type. That girl's your type. That girl's your type. He'd be like it was like a game to him, right? And so we're in line getting pizza, and he's like, yo, right behind you, that girl is exactly your type. He said, that girl is perfectly your type. And he had never said it like that before, right? And I turn around, and it's Becky. asked her to dinner. We got dinner Tuesday night, and that's the end of it. Like, or the start of it, depending how you want to look at it, right? But that was like, I prayed for that. I started praying for her at least 5 years before I met her. And I met her young in life, right? Like, I started praying for her at least 5 years before I met her. And so, like, the biggest flex I have in my life is I prayed for the things that I have now. And I think when you look at it from that perspective, when I sit there, right, because I keep it real. We just talked about mental health stuff. Like, my mental health has been struggling lately. Like, the depression has been hitting me hard lately. The anxiety's been hitting me hard lately. But when I sit there and reflect and think about the fact that everything I have in my life right now is something I once prayed for and dreamed about. Like, the most important coveted things in my life, the most valuable things I have in my life, my family, I prayed for this. There was a time in my life where I did not have this family, but I prayed for it. I asked God that he would bless me with this family, that I would be able to steward this family. I prayed for what I have now, and now I am sitting here in this moment. And sometimes, man, like, these moments are hard, and sometimes they're ugly and they're nasty. But when I sit there and reflect and think like, yo, there was a time where I didn't have this. I didn't have this amazing, beautiful, incredible wife that loves me for who I am, through my highs and my lows. I didn't have these beautiful, intelligent, sweet children that I could love and raise and pour into. Like, there was a time where I didn't have this. And now I'm sitting here on this side of it, and it can be so easy to just take that for granted and to be unthankful and ungrateful for it. But like, I have to sit and remember and think like, yo, there was a time where I did not have this, and I only prayed for it and dreamed about it. And God heard my prayer, and God answered my prayer. And so, yo, if you are single, like, start praying for your future wife. If you don't have kids, start praying for your future children. If you are married, if you do have kids, continue to pray for them. Like, don't stop praying for them, but also remember, like, there was a time where you may have only dreamed of what you have now. And here's the thing, like, when I say that I have everything I prayed for, I never in my life have I prayed for wealth. I haven't prayed to be rich. I haven't prayed to have a lot of money, to make a ton of money. Like, I've never prayed for that. Maybe I should start. I've never prayed for that. I have prayed that God would meet my needs. I have prayed that he would give me this day my daily bread. Like, I have prayed that he would close the gap when the numbers didn't make sense. And I have witnessed him do that time and time and time and time again. And I've witnessed him do that recently. Like, I have witnessed him do that, but that's something I've prayed for. And what I have prayed is I've prayed if he did bless me with wealth, that I would be able to steward it well. That's what I've prayed for. I haven't prayed for him to make me wealthy. I've prayed that if he did make me wealthy, that it would not change who I am, and that I would be able to steward it well and bless other people with it. But I've prayed for God to meet my daily needs, and he's done that. He's done that in abundance. Like, there's so many times going back to like my early days in my career, I was making like, I don't even think $40,000 a year. And it was like a paycheck to paycheck living. Like, I had student loans, I had rent coming out, I was trying to buy plane tickets to see my girl. Like, I was all these things, right? Because those that don't know, like, me and Becky, when we were dating the first 3 years of our relationship, we were long distance. So we had to buy plane tickets all the time. So that's where like any extra cash went. And then people were like, oh, what are you going to do when she's here? I'm like, nothing. We spent all our money getting to see each other. Like, we ain't got nothing left. Like, might go to Wawa, get a hoagie, but that's about it. But, like, there was times in that season of my life where, I lived on a very tight budget. And I was always good about budgeting, but like, I'd have $100 a month budgeted for electric. And I remember the first winter I was in a new apartment. The first winter I came in, and I was not ready for that, yo. Because at my first place, my first apartment, I only paid electric and the heat was on gas. So I cranked that mug up as high as I felt like, and it ain't make no difference for me. My electric bill was still like $30, right? Not the case at this second place. The heat was on electric. It was on electric. I had $100 budgeted. That first bill was like $350. That first winter, that first bill was like $350, man. And it wasn't like I was cranking the heat because I knew I was paying for it, but like it was ridiculous, dude. And I did not have the money for it. And I was panicking and I was praying for it. And I prayed that God would meet my need, that he would give me enough. Sure enough, like a couple days later, a couple in our church came up to me, handed me just cash, and it was $250. And I had $100 budgeted, and the bill was $350. You do the math, right? There was another time when it was like a month before our wedding, and I had money saved up for the honeymoon. And some of the stuff was like paid for already, and like some members of our church had gone in together to like bless us with the resort stay, but we still had to pay like the airfare, the all-inclusive tab, like all that stuff. And so I had the money saved up, but it's like you don't pay for it till you get there, sort of thing. So I had the money saved up, and a month before our wedding, like we had this crazy car trouble, and it wiped out my savings. It just absolutely wiped it out. And I was in my office at work on the phone with my dude Pete, and I'm sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, yo, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I have to pay this bill next month, or like we can't go. And it's like X number of dollars. And I was like, I just don't have that. Like I just spent all this money to fix the car. Like the car had to get fixed. That's priority number one, right? But I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for this. And it's like, I felt bad praying about it because I was like, yo, this is like a luxury thing, like a honeymoon. Like we don't really need this. But then it's like, we already paid for the airfare. We already paid for, and I was like, we just need money to cover the bill when we get there. And like, I just didn't have it. And while I'm on the phone with Pete, my office door is closed. There's a knock on my office. So I put the phone down. It was like one of those like landline phones in the office, right? I put the phone down. Pete's still on the phone. And I go to the door, and it's a member of our church. And he just hands me a check that exactly covered the cost. Like within like $10 of what I needed. Handed me a check. And he's like, don't tell no one it was me. Like, don't tell anyone that I gave you money. Thank you, Kirk. But like dude, like I've seen God come through in so many, like he has answered this prayer that I've prayed for him to meet my daily needs. And like just recently, it's like, all right, we've had some car trouble again, right? And we're like, all right, we have an emergency fund, but we don't want to like crash the emergency fund, even though like that's what it's there for. And then boom, it's like some money fell into our lap that almost exactly covers the cost of what we need done on this car. And it's like, yo, when you live a life of prayer, when you live a life dependent on God, like sometimes, and I feel like I'm not in this situation enough anymore, but sometimes it's worth it to be in situations where you say, yo, if God doesn't show up, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm such a planner. I'm such a detailed person that like, I love to just like have everything mapped out. And I feel like since I quit my job and started staying home with the kids, I've got nothing mapped out, bro. Like I feel lost in terms of like my long-term goals and plans and stuff. It's like, yo, I tried like a financial coaching thing. That didn't really work out. Like trying this podcast thing. And it's like, it's ups and downs with this. Like, but yo, God comes through, and I feel like putting yourself in situations where it's like, yo, you are fully dependent on God and who he is and what he does. You might get to a spot in your life where you can reflect and say, everything I have, I once prayed for this. Like, and maybe not everything, because like all the significant things in my life I've prayed for, but then it's like God's blessed me with so many things I never prayed for. You know, but it's like he's made it happen. And so I felt like this was like, I don't know who it's for, but I felt like this was a needed word of encouragement for somebody, because it can be so easy to walk through life just taking everything we have for granted, not realizing that the life you're living is the prayer of somebody else. Like somebody else right now is praying for the job that you hate going to. Somebody else is praying for the wife that annoys the crap out of you. Someone else is praying for the kids that are draining you and exhausting you. Like, someone else is praying for the life that you have right now. And you probably once prayed for the life that you have right now. And I think when we can look at things with the proper perspective, when I can look and say, yo, I once prayed for the wife that I have right now. I once prayed for the kids that I have right now. Like, I once prayed for my needs to be met, like God has met over and over and over and over again. Like, I've got so many stories of God's faithfulness through the years, but none are greater than the family that he's blessed me with. And I've prayed for that. And so my encouragement, man, if you're single, if you don't have a family of your own, if you don't have a wife and kids, like, pray for, like, start praying for your future wife. Start praying for your future kids. If you are married, if you are a father, continue praying for them. Don't stop. If you've never prayed for them, start. But also remember that the family that you have right now, like, you once prayed for, and someone else is probably praying for what you have. And so don't take it for granted. Give your family everything that you've got. And I know, like, doesn't mean that all days are easy if you just keep the right perspective on things, right? Like, I'm living proof that every single day is not easy. However, every single day matters. And every single day we can make something good out of it, even if it's hard times. Even if things don't all go our way, we can make something good out of it, man. One of me and my wife's favorite things to do is every single night we lay in bed and we ask the other person, like, what was your favorite part of this day? What was your favorite part of today? And we just share with each other, like, the highlight of our day. And it's like, it's a moment that brings us together because we get to hear about something exciting from the other person's day, but it's also something that, for me at least, and I'm sure for her too, like, for me at least, it helps me put things in perspective, because even on the hard days, like, there was something amazing to happen. Like, today I told her I was tucking Jay into bed, and I always, like, tell him good things about himself. Like, I'll be like, you are smart, you're intelligent, you are kind, you're a leader. Like, I'll just, I'll speak positive words of affirmation into him. And then I'll always tell him some variation of, I'm really glad that you're my son. I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful to be your daddy. Like, I'll say something along those lines, right? And tonight, just, 2 hours ago or whatever, as I was tucking him in, I'm getting ready, and I said, what'd I say? I said, I'm really glad that you're my son. And he just looked me right dead back in the eyes, and he said, I'm really glad that you're my dad. And I'm like, yo, like, I prayed for this type of relationship with my kids. I prayed for this. And, like, the last couple months have been really hard for me. But keeping things in perspective, like, I don't know. Truth be told, I don't even know what to pray for in the future. I do pray that he continues to provide our daily needs. I do pray that he would make the path clear for me. I do pray that he would show me the next step. I used to pray for the whole plan, the whole roadmap, from beginning to end. I used to pray for that. I don't pray for that anymore, because he just never showed me. So I just stopped praying for it. But instead, I started praying that he would show me the next thing. And that he would give me the courage to walk into it. And so I continue to pray for that. And I do believe in a God that is faithful. I do believe in a God that is good. And so, yeah, man. that's all I got for y'all today. Yo, for real, we appreciate y'all rocking with Kicks and Minivans. I appreciate all the love and support. Whether you're watching on YouTube, the 5 of you that watch on YouTube every week, and it's like, I know who all 5 of you are. So it was hilarious, man. P reached out to me. He was like, yo, there's one episode on YouTube's popping off. And I was like, yo, I never check YouTube. I'm like the one person in the world that does not use YouTube as a consumer. Like, I never go on there unless I'm looking up something very specific. But I almost never go on YouTube as a consumer. And I really don't even go to check our stats. Like, I go to post our video, and then like I get out and I don't get on until I go to post the next video, right? And Pete's like, yo, this one episode popped off. I'm like, yo, what does that mean? He's like, yo, it's like 60 people. I'm like, yo, all right, well, for all the 60 that watch that episode, for the 5 people that watch on YouTube every time, and for everyone that's listening on Apple and Spotify, that's where most of y'all listen, is Apple and Spotify. A few on Google Play, we see you. A few on some that I've never even heard of. The homies from India that listen to all the episodes, like, appreciate y'all. But no, we do appreciate you rocking with us, supporting us, tuning into the episodes, giving us feedback on it, man. If you got some things that you want to hear us speak about in the future, please send us a DM on Kicks and Minivans. Text me if you got my number. Email us, kicksandminivans@gmail.com. Like, whatever. We want this podcast to be a blessing and beneficial to you all. And so whatever it is that we can do to help you win in marriage and parenting, we want to do just that. Until next time, this is Kicks and Minivans. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Thanks for hanging.